All right, and we're back. It's escaping the matrix. So, understanding the matrix, understanding here seems to symbolize a life where you're locked into roles or systems that dictate your choices. Whether that's a criminal existence driven by desperation or survival, or the employee sheep life of trading time for money and a soul draining cycle, both can feel like you're plugged into someone else's script, where individuality gets crushed under necessity, conformity, or external control. Criminal path, this might mean getting sucked into illegal activities, petty theft, hustling, or organized crime, often because of limited options, poverty, or a lack of belief in a legit system. It's a high risk, high stress life that can trap you in a cycle of consequences, jails, enemies, paranoia. And then there's the employee sheep path. This is the 9 to 5 grind where you're a cog in a machine working for someone else's dream or their vacations or their riches while they go buy all the more than they need, mansions and cars, and you just keep struggling, never getting a vacation. It's not about all jobs being bad. It's the mindless version: clock in, obey, collect a paycheck, repeat, while feeling unfulfilled or replaceable. Both paths can ship away autonomy, leaving you reading or reacting to life instead of designing it for yourself. So, our this week's topics are a roadmap, detailed, no nonsense guide to dodging both traps and building a life that's yours. This isn't a one size fits all, it's a framework to adapt. So, the first thing we have here is rewire your mindset. Reject the script. Stop seeing criminal or employee as your only identities. You're not defined by what you've done or what you've been told to do. Andrew or Kyle, you want to mention anything about that?
Mhm.
Any ideas? Or
I guess the way I would like to start off with is kind of the example I'm dealing with in life right now. I live in a pretty small town, maybe about 1,000, 2,000 people, maybe. And a couple years ago, I ended up getting into some issues, and basically since then, it's like my script is being written by other people. I'm kind of like blackballed in town, so
mm,
it's hard for me to find a job, keep the jobs, things like that. I've had other people come into my appointment and like do things to purposely make me mess up. So I guess what I'm trying to say is yeah, it's really important not to let other people have anything to do with your life to where they're going to basically write your script for you, because it's hard to get out of that cycle when someone else is controlling it and kind of molding you to what they want to be, I guess, if that makes sense.
mm. Andrew, are you watching the show on? Because there's an echo on yours.
It's me.
Yeah, it's coming out of yours.
I think I
No,
am.
or do you have
Is that better?
speakers on? You need to get your headphones.
Oh, give me a sec.
Technical difficulties.
That's all right. Well, this is Kyle. His YouTube channel is Nautical Awakenings. Go subscribe, like his content. He's really good, creative. He writes up a lot of good stuff, and he uses some.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Mhm.
I've always been very interested in writing. I actually got a little like award in seventh grade. I wrote my own fiction book. It was 210 pages, and it was called Dinosaur Planet. So long story short, I enjoy writing. It's one of my passions.
I remember Dinotopia. You ever heard of that book? It's a kid's book.
Dinotopia.
It's a kid's book from
I
when
think
I was
sounds
where
familiar.
it's where humans and dinosaurs live together. Like you rode dinosaurs like horses.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a cool children's book that I was really, intrigued by.
For some reason, I'm reminded of Maggie and the Ferocious Beast, but I know it's not the same.
Yeah,
This is
here,
the first thing that popped in my mind.
here, I'll share this real quick. Um, share my screen. 1 second. Go back. I want Dinotopia. All right, here it is. Uh,
Mark, can you hear me?
yeah,
All right.
you see it? Oh wait, hold on, I messed up. Share screen. There we go. You see that?
Yeah, I see it. Well, I never got to read that. Seems cool.
Yeah, it was in the. Remember, Crystal McCoff? It was in the library.
Oh, okay. It must have been that I was just not interested in reading enough to be like, oh, that one's cool.
Yeah, that was a fun book I had. Well, oh yeah, tell us about your background. Like, you served in the Navy, right, Kyle?
Yeah, I was in the Navy. I enlisted in September of 2011. I did 4 years active duty, and I did 4 years in the reserves. And yeah, I mean, it was a very whirlwind experience, that's for sure. But for the most part, I'm glad I did it.
So, I'm sorry, Andrew's microphone was kicking in. You did what out there? I'm sorry.
I hope it's not my microphone.
No, it was Andrew's. I muted him. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. So yeah, I was in the Navy. I did 4 years active. I did 4 years in the reserves. I enlisted in September 2011, and then I was done in September of 2019. And yeah, I was stationed on Norfolk, Virginia. I was a gunner's mate on the USS Elrod, which is a frigate. Well, it was until we decommissioned it. And then my second ship was the USS Whidbey Island, which is an amphibious ship where we like bring the Marines to shore. We drop them off. We drop the gate. They go out, and then we leave because we're the Navy.
Right, right. Hold on, I'm gonna check in with Andrew. Andrew, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, that's much better. I don't know what was going on. Just keep talking to make sure the mic's working.
Just
No,
don't know what
okay.
to say. Hello.
Okay, so go to your settings and change the mic to the PC mic and not your headphones
Gotcha.
mic, and then keep your headphones as the audio, if you can do that. We'll be right back with you when you're done. Okay.
It's those gremlins, man. It always happens on podcasts.
Yeah, or the Mercury retrograde.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know what? That's what it is.
It's always some static in the air from that thing. No,
Something. Always something.
But let's go to the next topic here, because rejecting the script, stop seeing it as one way or the other. That means there's potentially other ways you can perceive,
Right.
like self-employment,
Sounds a
right?
little better.
You could be self-employed instead of working for somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I'm striving for right now.
Right. Yeah. Some people start their own business. A common thing is like landscaping or concrete work, stuff like that. They used to, back when I was like 18, 17, they used to do apprenticeships, and you could
Yeah.
go work for like 2/3 of the wage of others just for a couple years to get the mastering and understanding of how to do it. And then you could either like get promoted within that company, or you could go start your own business. You save up your money, pay for a business license, stuff like that. But
I wish I had done that instead of going to the military. Like if I could choose to do it again, I'd probably go to like a trade school or something.
that's what I did when I
In all
was
honesty.
16. I went to Job Corps and went to trade school, but I wasn't interested in the actual acquiring anything of value. I was interested in playing with girls.
Hey man,
Right?
it is what it is when you're a young man, man. It's just what it is.
Yeah, so I went to clerical because that's where all the girls were.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I learned how to type and
Chad over here.
run computers and do all that. So let me check in with Andrew here.
All right.
Andrew, did you get it working?
Is that better or what?
Oh yeah, way better. Thank you.
For sure.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. The next topic is value freedom over comfort. So some people get comfortable with where they're at. Comfort keeps you stuck, whether it's easy cash from a hustle or predictable paycheck. Aim for control over your time and choices. Essentially, like
I wanted to chime in about something about that.
Go ahead.
I feel like when in my experiences and the situations I've been offered and have been through in my life, that it's always back and forth. Even when I pursue freedom, like even when I was actually, I don't know, being homeless and going from homies to homies and surviving and doing what I could to hustle or whatever, and looking at ultimate freedom. It wasn't like really free, dude. I still had to make money. I still had to survive.
Right.
Even when you try that route, you know.
Yeah, there's no
And I've
guarantee.
done the 9 to 5 hustle and done that too. You know what I mean? It's not like I've always been homeless. It's just there was a period of life in my life like that. And again, it's still the same thing. You're thinking you're doing freedom, but there's still that hustle that you got to do either way.
Yeah, well, there's people who
I,
trade.
There's always going to be work to do.
Yeah, well,
right, but
there's people who trade the market or trades cryptos too that to make money.
yeah, but that you're still sitting down at a computer for hours to do work to make
Yep.
that money. And whether it really matters or not, I don't really think that it's the hustle that gives you freedom or the opposite of not hustling that gives you freedom. It's your mind. Right?
Hmm.
It's a mind state, right?
Yeah, it's called being in the flow. It's using your creativity, which is what you're put here on this earth to do. All of us as human beings, when we're awakened to our potential and we're healthy, we have the potential to create basically what we want. But it's just a matter of putting the work in, really focusing and having that direct. You don't want those outside forces trying to control your script or trying to say this or that. I mean, it's fine to take advice, but it's all about just,
And more
I'm trying to say.
to that, I'm not trying to say that would have to conform to a 9 to 5 either,
Mhm.
right? It's not to say that to accept slavery and try to stay in a blissful state ignoring it. That's not exactly what I'm saying either.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to more towards what your point is like focus yourself, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, that reminds me. Last night, people say the biggest rule is don't bite the hand that feeds. And I say, well, if we never bit the hand that feeds, we would still be under the British Empire,
No doubt.
and there'd still be slavery.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I think we do have to bite the hand that feeds, because if the hand that feeds is all you know and depend on, how you ever going to be free from that?
Exactly. It's kind of like Stockholm syndrome in a way.
I think a part of that is human.
Mm,
Hmm.
I think a part of both sides of that are human. The
yeah.
Stockholm syndrome side and the nonconformist side. I think both sides of that are slightly human,
But if
and
we
that
if we all
there
conform,
are.
if we
Okay, I'm sorry.
it's okay. If we all conform to an emperor, nobody changes or grows, or nothing evolves. There's no inventing stuff. There's nothing gonna change.
Well, I think it
Exactly.
goes back to that philosophy of um, percentages. There's always going to be like the bottom 25% that are like, oh yeah, I agree no matter what, I'm a slave.
Hmm.
And then there's the top 25% that are like, I hate you no matter what because I'm unconformist and blah blah blah. And there's always going to be the middle 50% that doesn't know which way to go. Right? There'll be people that are undecided or have their own side opinions.
Mm,
And every issue you think about, right?
Hmm.
There's always going to be a black, white, and a gray area.
yeah. I was gonna say sorry, I'm distracting here. Okay. The primary issue is the next phase here, which is what was it? Did I do this right? Yeah, okay, I got it. So growth over guilt. If you've been a criminal, don't let shame lock you in. If you've been a drone, don't beat your Andrew, every time you move that thing, it just causes all kinds of noise, dude.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Don't move it. You're making all kinds of static noise when you move it. All right, so
Freeze frame.
if you've been a criminal, don't let shame lock you in. If you've been a drone or the worker bee, don't beat yourself up about it. Start where you are. So
Hmm.
don't be depressed that, oh, this is all I know. I'm stuck here. It's like go read a book or
Yeah,
something.
I think part of depression though too is part of the awakening process and actually moving forward, because that depression is actually something within you saying, "Hey, something isn't right. I need to do something about it."
Mm,
And whatever that might mean for you in your personal journey, that's up for you to decide and ultimately do or not do. But I feel like yeah, it's all personal choice.
for sure. Is there anything
I
I
mean,
don't
else?
I
know.
can give an example. I mean, uh, as a young kid, I was depressed. I had PTSD. I was obese as a kid. I was barely 15 years old, 5'10", and I was 285 pounds, no muscle. And all that culmination of all those years of being in that depression, and it's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you. It eventually came to that point where it's like, when I stepped on the scale and I saw I was 285 pounds, it was like, I got to do something about this now. Like as a football fan, if anybody knows who uh, Gilbert Brown was, he was a tackle for the Packers, and he was just a big man. And
Hmm.
basically, it was like I didn't want to turn into that. I wanted to be something that was healthier. And so, yeah, it was the depression and being in that state for so long to where it was like it eventually pushed me to do something. But
Mm.
I also realized most people don't do that. So, what makes someone like me different from somebody else?
How tall are you?
Well, now I'm 6 foot as an adult. But
Okay.
yeah, like I was 5'10" because I remember it was my sophomore year in football. We had just finished the season, and I had weighed myself, and I had ballooned up to 285 pounds. And I'm like, nah, I can't do this no more.
Mm,
I was getting shin splints and knee issues, back issues, and yeah, I just decided to take action while I was still young and able to.
mm.
So, and I
During
really struggled with weight my whole life. So it's always a
uh
journey and a process and trying to improve. But yeah,
during COVID,
hopefully that makes sense.
during COVID, I got over 300 pounds,
Yikes.
I've been over 300 pounds.
A lot of
and
people did though.
I'm down to 230. So
Good job.
yeah.
Nice. You weigh less than me now, Mark.
Well, you're taller though too. You're 2 inches taller.
Yeah, and I'm probably a little more built now.
Yeah, you got more muscle than you have in
Woof.
Well, not like that. It's
Don't be modest now.
I did 2 years of MMA training at
Oh, that's cool.
a Gracie gym called The Farm.
And you did
Oh, the
kickboxing.
Gracie gym.
Hmm.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So my master trained under Helio Gracie, Gracie's grandson. Forgot his name.
Oh,
I forgot his name. But he when I met him was already old, right? And he was
hmm
explaining how when he was training at that time, he was into karate, right? And he had been invited over to train with him in another country because he had already been doing like 6 or 7 years of karate at this point, right? And he's kind of well known. Well, he explained to me that it takes 10 plus years to be certified to be legally able to train or college intuition.
hmm.
Yeah. And he is my black belt jiu-jitsu instructor. And I never made it to blue belt. I made it to two-stripe white belt. I'm more of a stand-up fighter. I like doing Muay Thai more. Elbows and knees.
Mm.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can really do a whooping on somebody with elbows and knees, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's serious business.
Yeah, I took taekwondo and wrestling when I was younger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like wrestling though. I had a lot of fun doing wrestling.
I did BJJ, Muay Thai, and boxing.
And then I did roller hockey in my high school years. So I
I
was
was a football and basketball guy myself, so that's what
uh
I did.
I played both those sports too. I just didn't do it every
Cool.
year. I only did those like a couple times. That's all.
I had a friend that I used to work with at a Planet Fitness, right? And I
Hmm.
was there for like 6 months. But he was out of the military, right? And
hmm
he was talking about how during their military training they do general combat, They don't. It's not like they focus into one special style or anything. But then, in exchange for that, you learn to use firearm. You learn
Exactly.
survival techniques in like the jungle and shit that I would never be able to learn. Right? Like, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I know my experience in the Navy, because you have to stand like a watch or you got to be like a sentry. They basically just taught us mock takedowns, which if you don't know
yeah,
what those are, it's basically just using like the fulcrum points on the body and just understanding leverage and momentum, which is kind of like martial arts.
Mm.
And they only taught us like 3 or 4 mock takedowns, but they had us learning how to use a baton. Obviously you have your gun, your rifle, you get OC spray. So we have a whole range of weapons and tools to use, and you got to follow the force continuum. But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from on that.
yeah.
But
Um,
our uncle
and
Carl, our
What's
oh,
up?
uncle,
go ahead.
our uncle Carl was in the Marines. He said they were training judo.
That's
Really?
kind of what it is. The mock takedown stuff is judo code,
Okay, yeah,
right?
maybe judo's a better word for it.
Well, no, but
Right?
he actually did judo with the arm takedowns and stuff.
Oh,
Ah,
did he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the
Um,
hip takedowns and everything. Because
that's
when you're in the Marines, right? It's different than the Navy. You're gonna be face to face a lot more than most
for
people.
sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, like honestly, I wish they had spent more time with us on the mock takedowns. I mean, I was pretty fine with it, but you would see other people who you kind of wish they were better at it because they might be someone who your life might be in their hands, like as a guard or a
Yeah.
sentry. So, and it is what it is, but
yeah.
everybody has different strengths.
So the mock takedowns is a combination of Aikido and Judo, right? And it's about basically finding the pressure point or a way to bend the different fulcrums of their arm and leg to put them on the ground or put themselves on the ground or like step their leg behind their leg and trip them to the ground. It's about conservation of force, right, and energy, right?
Hmm.
Because if you're in a combat situation where you have a gun and everything, two things matter: survival and speed. It's not about picking somebody up over your head and throwing them, trying to break their spine. You're not trying to be a wrestler, bro.
No,
You're not
No.
taking the time to do that shit. It's put them down, get them out now,
yeah.
fast.
That's what
Yeah, that's basically what it is, and that's why you have a force continuum because you don't want to go to the gun right away. You want to see if you can take them down with your hands, but if the hands aren't doing the work, you got the baton, the OC spray. But yeah, you definitely don't want to use a gun unless obviously you need to use it. And then if you have to go to court for the martial court in the military, you have to be able to describe how you use the force continuum and how it applied to a situation. And like, yeah, I had to shoot this guy because X, Y, Z.
Yeah, no, judo for Marines is different because the Marines actually go in close quarters. There might be somebody
Yeah.
around the corner that just in your face instantly before you can pull the trigger. So
And the force.
the
I'm
force,
sorry,
the thing about judo though is you might not be able to grab his points, right? But you can hip toss him quick and get him on the ground
Yep.
quick, and you'll be on top quick.
That's
bro.
all you need to do.
When you get good at judo, you don't even need to get on top. My
No,
master was so good at judo that he could do a hip toss by stepping in some front of somebody and doing the whole leg maneuver without planting his foot down. He just kicked out hard enough with enough torque that they would flip midair and land on their head.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah,
Impressive.
that's the
That
point.
kind of force and torque, dude. Like, just blink. I don't have to worry. You're gonna land on your face.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
pull the gun on them after they land on
Yeah, hey, you got to.
their that
It's
is
business.
that's the Marine point. You see what I'm saying? Andrew? The Marine.
Hmm.
The Marines were trying to hurry up and get you off and in a better position as quickly as possible.
And when you watch those like extreme, like high level Japanese judo matches, these people literally land on their face most of the time, almost
Mm,
either on their shoulder or on their neck. Some of the time,
mm.
on their face, something like that. They do not almost ever land directly on their back because they've been practicing how to spin spin in the air and maneuver their body in a way that the head is pointing downward when they land.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well,
All
that
right.
that the thing about Ronda Rousey, MMA UFC fighter.
Yep.
She was the first one to come in with judo, and that's why she kicked everyone's ass because she was just so good at it. She was a world champ of judo for like whatever, and her mom was too. So
But the thing about judo is the concept that was originally made by the first dude, because like all these dudes wrote their own book on martial arts, and that's why it survived through the years. Like Bubishi was written by monastery masters, and
mhm.
that ended up becoming kung fu, right? And there's an old book called the Bubishi that is pre-written in Japan. So the book on judo, the guy wrote it with the philosophy of using the ground as a weapon without having to use his hands. Like, I'm going to beat you to death with the earth itself, the floor.
Mm.
I don't have to use my body as a striking instrument. The ground will be my striking instrument.
That
Sure.
just ties into the escaping the matrix too. Grounding the situation. You know what I mean? Like if you're not grounded, you can get knocked over, or if you're not in a strong position, you can fall. And
Yeah, that dude was into some of the monk philosophy too. It's a long time ago.
it's kind of like
If back then the only way to really get badass kung fu or karate training was to either join a monastery and become a monk or knew somebody who had already knew it and
mm,
taught you. There wasn't like all these karate teachers around back then.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's like the art of war too. You can use that in everyday life. You don't have to use it in war context.
So a lot of these dudes when they were young, like the guy that wrote The Art of War, Sensei, spent time training in monk monasteries
Yeah.
and learned philosophy from that before they wrote their books. That's why it's all a lot of balanced philosophy and stuff.
Well, that's the grounding
Right.
of the mind. You're grounding your mind in philosophy, and you're not
Yeah.
easily forced off of your mental position.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's important because, like, even if you're working for somebody else, you got to be able to stand your ground and say no and willing to lose the job for your
Yeah,
mental
you gotta
gain.
be willing to walk away when it's not good for your soul anymore.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people stay in a place where it's not good for their soul anymore. But like we said earlier, it comes from a place of comfort and familiarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta break those chains, man. No matter what it is,
I,
because your
I don't
your
know.
your health and your sanity is more important than anything else.
Yep.
Well, what do
That's
you
it.
think you think that what do you think the future's going to look like though? Right? Like because us as a society are kind of stuck in the thought patterns and philosophies that
Mhm.
we're stuck in right now. So, are we going to stay that way? Is
No,
this our downfall,
it's
or
gonna.
what's going to happen?
I think most humans in the future, like the Star Trek, if you watch the newer ones with like the very first new Star Trek with the young Captain Kirk, and he's running around with all the girls on Earth, and he's like free to do whatever he wants, but he's in training to be a captain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like an education world where most people are just being educated and have a lot of free time.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it really just depends on where like the AI is gonna go, like politics, the globalism, all that. But I do feel like it is gonna be a time of awakening. It might not be on a massive scale per se, but I think more people are gonna start to, um, go beyond the veil, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So, fantasy, and you're kind of into this and everything. So,
Yeah.
what if there is like a second random Isaac Newton goes up and invents some kind of machine that offers free energy? Well, how's that going to play into everything?
Well, if I think they've already done things like that, but I mean, if someone did create something where they could really harness the free energy, I mean, obviously, you would have to keep the corporations out of it, but good luck with that. I mean, that's why they got rid of Tesla to begin with. But I mean, there's all these different things that are going to be in the way of the human evolution, whether it's the corporations, the globalists, or just the masses themselves, because so many people don't want to evolve. They don't want to see things change. It's kind of like you're stuck between an old thinking and then that rock, I guess, if that makes sense. It's like you're just banging two coconuts together. You're not getting anywhere.
My contention with that is that the older times didn't have a, an they didn't have accelerated growth like we have.
Right. They didn't have things like the internet where you can instantly connect and share messages like we are right now. I mean, think about how amazing this would have been
It
2,000,
took
3,000 years ago when,
Well,
Christ was saying, you're going to do things greater than me. I think this is what he meant, was people like us coming on here and talking about these topics, whatever it may be. We're able to reach so many people, not like the people of the past where like they had to go on the Silk Road and meet and
mhm.
talk about these things. They had to meet in secret and congregate, to whereas we can speak freely on a cell phone, on a laptop, and get that information out there on the internet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That does really make sense, but
What?
I think eventually it's going to be way greater than that
For
because
sure.
I think that AI will grant us a way to mentally talk to each other, like put a helmet on and cerebro each other,
I
Mm,
could see that happening.
right?
Yeah.
And at that point, it's going to be literally like closing your eyes and you can see 3D map the conversation and concepts and ideas in your head
well,
because
you ever watch Star
it'll help you do it. It's AI. It can help you.
you ever watch Starship
Oh,
Troopers? The movie Starship Troopers from the 90s with the
no,
bugs.
I'm not familiar with it.
You remember that movie, Andrew, with the bugs on that another planet?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, in that movie they have psychics who can communicate through their mind, and they communicate like
Yeah.
to the aliens that way too. And they're like special forces type people. They're not typical average people.
So
There's
kind of like Stranger Things.
a kind
Yeah,
of
but with a helmet, bro, like AI involvement, because that's
Right.
the only way that'll work.
well, that would be more like StarCraft. In StarCraft, the ghosts they call them, which
Yeah,
they can go. They have suits that allows them to be invisible for a certain time, and
Okay.
they use helmets and stuff like that to help communicate with the, like you said, the
it's not
psionic.
exactly invisibility. It's like Master Chief's invisibility, where it's like a mirror,
Or
right?
like that,
It's like it.
like that movie about the girl whose boyfriend is an inventor and he invents the invisible suit and he like stalks her the whole movie. It's like a scary movie. Have you seen that movie? I can't remember what it's called.
I've
Huh.
seen it. I
It
know what you're talking about.
like the Invisible Man or something. It's a newer one. It just came out 5 years ago or something like that.
But that's where
Sounds
I
familiar.
think the cell phones are ultimately going to get to, like maybe even a headset that you can do this with, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It'll start like a helmet, but you know how technology makes things smaller and more sleek and more
yeah.
So then,
aerodynamic.
wouldn't that be kind of like a augmented reality? Am I right? Is that kind of the
Kinda,
same?
right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the weird thing of all that is if we're inside a matrix, that means that we're being inside a matrix, like an Inception kind of thing.
I can dig with that actually. Um, I don't know. I've had experiences with like uh astral projection, things like that. And I definitely think it's something inside of something inside of something.
Yeah.
It's like a dream inside of a dream.
I think Andrew's
Yeah,
talking more like cyberpunk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It'll be like that. That's what I really think it'll be like. And
Because
ultimately, mastery, getting free energy either will happen or won't happen. I think that's the answer to us going to being Mark's type of civilization or like doomsday apocalypse. That's the turning point. Either someone manages to get free energy out to the masses, or we don't, and we all go down with the ship. Because I think that's the only answer, right? Either we
I
find
agree.
a more healthy way to be ourselves, or we don't.
mm.
Hmm.
Well, if there's another, this reminds me of another movie with Keanu Reeves. He plays the alien that comes with that giant robot that's like summons this giant swarm of metallic. Uh, I don't remember what they, but they're like nanobots that start devastating the whole planet because humans have been deemed unworthy to keep the planet. It's like
Okay.
but the alien Keanu Reeves that he's playing has a conversation with like a very smart mind of humans, a philosopher that says they asked the question about his species, like what happened to yours, and the alien Keanu Reeves says, well, we were about to be destroyed and then we figured it out or something like that, and he's like, well, that's the point. Only on the brink of destruction do species evolve.
Yep. Well, it's a forceful thing. It's like it's literally pushing them. You know, you got to be pushing to doing something a lot of times,
Mhm.
and that's kind of how the universe is.
And I think that's how they justify this potential like world depopulation agenda that they push a lot is because it's like either
Mm,
sink or swim, and that's why they're allowed to do what they're doing. It's like, well,
yeah.
if there's is some galactic federation or aliens out there, why aren't they? Well, because there's rules of engagement.
Well, yeah, because then it would get rid of the illusion of freedom, or what's that called?
The concept,
free will.
free
There we
will.
go.
Okay,
That's what I'm. Yeah.
But
but
what
Yeah.
I think, and why I think it has to be free energy and everything and stuff, is because there's too much reliance on fossil fuels, and we have an option, right? Like we don't have the technology and ability to harness it per se, right? But we do have another fuel source. Everything could be run off electricity without needing these fossil fuels, right?
Yep.
Even Starcraft, we've developed small ionic propellants and stuff, right? We don't necessarily, if we could evolve the technology the right way, we wouldn't need fossil fuels at all.
well, fossil fuels are just the ancient dead life.
For sure.
That's all it is.
Right? And that is really what we're all complaining about, polluting everything, and making everything such a big problem, right? And we all know that's not really the whole case, right? We're all starting to realize like global warming is a fact. It
No,
was
yeah.
going to happen either way. We're
w-
just making it happen faster.
What they did is in the 70s, they took the information they got in the 70s about the pollutants, byproducts from burning fossil fuels, but the engineering of our engines and our vehicles have evolved to reduce that. And instead of saying the truth about the whole situation, they just kept let China do the horrendous polluting and blamed us for it and saying it's all
Yeah,
your
that
fault.
makes sense.
Well, meanwhile, they're over
Well,
there with their coal plants and they don't reduce their pollution at all.
so
Well,
the Earth has like its natural cycles of heating and cooling. Obviously, how much does human pollution, how much does that really affect the planet? Like, isn't there studies that like show that like one volcano eruption is worth more CO2 than what humans could ever do in like a lifetime for
that's
like a carbon footprint?
actually false. The
Is it?
test, yes, but it's comparable.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's how many vehicles are burning at once kind of thing, right?
yeah, yeah.
Ah,
It's a mathematical calculation situation when you're talking about
What
that.
they say is either where it's like a third of one or a third of the other. So like either that is they're putting out three times what we are, or we're putting out three times what it is.
I tend to
It
believe it depends on
depends.
it also depends on the volcano. So like,
What day? How many cars are running during that day?
or
Blah blah.
yeah.
are we talking about a little tiny island volcano or a super volcano? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I meant the super volcano, but yeah, I can definitely see what you guys are getting at. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
You hear so many different things.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just don't know what to believe or what information
And
is correct.
Yeah.
the math on like how bad is it for the planet? We add anywhere from 30, like round 30, 20 to 30% to like 60% of the pollution to the planet,
So
right?
yeah, so they're under the influence of that somehow the planet wouldn't change with like if we didn't have these fossil fuels burning and we were like we were 200-300 years ago, they're under the influence that somehow the earth wouldn't change. Like duh, you're not very smart. Of course the earth's going to change
Right.
eventually because the history shows in the geology and stuff that the earth changed. So and not only that, the magnetic poles are shifting, and not only that, but the satellites have an impact on our planet as well. The more satellites and junk out there floating right next to us impacts the magnetic spheres and the
Magnetosphere.
the
There's a
magnetic.
law of magnetic rotation that affects things that are right next to it, and like they do these little tests in physics class in middle school and high school, right? And I'm sure you've seen them with like the trampoline where they put a really heavy bearing in the middle of it, and then they throw balls around it, and it slowly swirls, right? There's a law that says if you have a spherical object next to another spherical object, and this one's rotating, but this one isn't, slowly it'll be pulled into the same rotation as this one, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
So, involving that law, all the space debris that we have is slowly being rotated around this planet.
in the same
The
direction.
more you throw up in there, the more drag you create on the planet, and it slows
Uh,
the rotation.
Or
The,
it,
okay.
or it can
yeah,
speed it up.
yeah, or it could speed it up and make it even worse,
A-
faster.
and that's
So
why.
then, is that potentially why time seems like it's been going by faster lately?
Yeah, I
It could
think so.
be.
Okay.
I don't think that's how. I don't think we're, because time is relevant to our rotation and the sun's rotation, and
Yeah.
our rotation of the planet, which is 24 hours, and then the rotation around the planet or the sun. I mean, that's what time is. It's not. It's a tool to
Hmm.
measure where you are in your position. That's
Around the sun. Yeah.
yeah. It's not
And
like.
then I guess I have another question.
Mhm.
Time is not a law,
No,
right? Time is not a scientific law.
it's a
It's
measurement.
a measurement.
Yeah, a tool.
Yeah.
Go
So I
ahead.
guess going back to the topic of the magnetic sphere and how it's shifting and kind of where it relates to how we are right now in our evolution, and maybe I can tie it back into talking about the paradigm of following scripts and humanity following old cycles. With the magnetic earth shifting, could that potentially affect our consciousness as well? And does it affect animals and other creatures on earth? What do you
Well,
guys think?
I think yes. I mean the North Pole direction and where it points, and then the South Pole and where it points. I is where, like, so when you imagine the magnetics of around the planet, they go from the poles out like a bubble. Like
Yeah.
if you ever put one of these lenses, I don't remember what they're called, but on a magnet, you can see the magnetic energies moving and the circle around the magnet and how it works.
Yeah.
And it works
Yeah, I know what
just
you're
like
talking
the
about.
planet does, where it comes from the poles and it
Okay.
circles around to the other side of the pole. So there's and people are like flat earthers like, well, how did they get to the moon? Like, well, because there's certain areas where the magnetic and the radiation are weaker in other points.
Hmm.
And not only
Yeah.
that, but the way they come out of the atmosphere is always at an angle. They don't go straight into and the time it takes to get through the radiation field is like maybe a few minutes. It's not like they're sitting there being torched for
Right.
hours or something. Like,
Yeah.
eh,
Yeah.
eh,
Yeah. They gotta go and they gotta go now.
yeah, and not only that, but they're wearing suits. There's this. They're in a shield. They're shielding on the ship. It's not like they didn't think about all of this because the experimenting with Russia and sending monkeys up. I'm sure they figured that out in the 40s and 30s.
I mean, they did go to the moon. They just didn't show us all of it. That's all. Some of
Yeah,
it's fake. Some of it's real.
that's what we believe. We believe that I believe they faked it because they made alien contact. They didn't want you to know
Yep.
that alien contact.
Yep.
That's what I believe. I don't think it's a flat Earth. I think that's ridiculous.
So they
Well,
show
didn't
us
they bring a?
a video of what happened before the alien contact and the video of all the tests they did on the Earth, and they kind of cut out all the fake shit.
Well, not only that, but the communication they turned off from NASA for a few minutes. It's
Yeah.
Yep.
recorded. Yeah, so
Yep.
they don't lie about cutting the communication off.
Wasn't there recorded audio of them saying something about like they could see a flying craft or something like that? Or
Well,
am I wrong?
one of the pilots from Apollo said that they had draconians telling them how to build shit and where to put shit. They were like directing them in space and what to do. I've
I
seen it.
Speaking of the Draconians, I had heard, and again, I don't know if it's true, but I had heard that when those astronauts went up there, I heard that they brought like some sort of quote unquote like olive branch.
Yeah,
Is that truth or is
yeah,
okay?
that's the Dark Alliance.
Yeah.
That's what we call it, the Dark Alliance, with the Greys, the
Ah.
Draconians, the Reptilians, we believe that we're in a black market location.
Yeah.
We're pretty
Yep.
much in the pirate home world.
So there's a whole video game that was a computer game that is about basically StarCraft, like building civilization and expanding on it, trying to survive, right? But it's all alien races and everything, called Dark Prophecy, right? That's exactly based on different aliens and having an alliance and trying to conquer new worlds for mineral resources. Which alien do you want to choose to start conquering the universe? And blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
Well,
that's the whole game's concept.
and not only that, but
Okay.
have you heard of draconian law?
Yes.
It's an actual thing they implement and everything, and where it came from.
Yep.
It's
Does that have
tradition.
to do with like the Black Book law, or is that something different?
It's traditional Athenian law code, allegedly introduced by Draco, which was a ruler in 62-1 BCE.
Okay.
Most noteworthy for their harshness, they were said to be written in blood rather than ink. Death was prescribed for almost all criminal offenses.
Hmm.
So it was an oppressive dictatorship.
I think the reason why we get leaked these weird, odd information through video games and shit like that is there's a law that says they have to share information. It just doesn't share how, right? So they can
Yeah.
share it in any video game, any random media to make it look as fake as they want, but they have to share the information, right?
TV shows, like
Yeah, and like that's what's so crazy about these all this media that we have and how long it's existed. It's amazing how many people kind of don't put two and two together and think maybe there's more to this myth. There's a reason why it's called a legend.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
exactly, right?
Huh.
Yeah,
Cool.
like the show Stargate.
Yeah.
It was huge and popular, and then it went away. Then it came back and got huge and popular, and like, no, it's too popular. Too many people are connecting.
Yep. It's too much truth. We can't have that.
Yeah. You guys are waking up too fast. Slow down. I'm supposed to watch that with the homie 5/5, but I'm waiting on him to figure that out. Reaction videos and see how people react to them. I haven't actually seen the show. I only remember the movie. I don't know if you guys watched it.
I believe that the only way to get off of Earth, and to an advanced civilization, anyways, in what fuel would work is like ionic propulsion, anyways. Right? There's no way we're gonna make it out of our universe on fossil fuel.
Well, if there's Stargates, if they
And well, let's say potentially there's these new liquids, new minerals we find, space things that exist on other planets, resources we don't have on Earth that allow us to evolve our technology beyond what we have now, right? Well, we're not going to get to those planets without. They're not going to get there on fossil fuels, right? I think electricity is the way to go.
Well, the thing is, currently they just need to get into space, and then they just blow air out and push themselves in the direction and meet up with the Mars. So it's all about shooting at the right time and waiting all those months when Mars gets the closest to Earth, and it's just perfect alignment and all that shooting. But I'm like, there's so many potential things that could go wrong with human behavior and interactions that you can miss Mars completely. You could like crash land, like. And I think Elon knows this, and that's why he's like, we need more people because it's gonna take a lot of deaths to get there.
No doubt, dude.
I need more people to sacrifice to get me to Mars. Yeah. It's like when we tried to sail the oceans back in the 1400s or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder how I wonder how many unknown ships tried to do that and didn't make it. Or how many
I did a theoretical with Gronk about if you used ionic propulsion with a large, like giant ionic drive and the fastest you could get to Mars and everything. And like you would need a significantly big powerhouse to generate that much electricity. Like gigawatts of power to generate at free will, right?
Yeah,
But,
how do you even do that?
yeah, but say you could get there in 4 months
Okay.
instead of 2 years.
No, it's
Well, that's a nice little road trip.
not Andrew. It's not Andrew. The reason Elon says in 2 years is because Mars gets the closest to Earth every 2 years.
Right.
Then
Okay.
that takes 4 months, Andrew.
Hmm.
So when Mars is the closest, and if we send it at the right time to meet up when Mars, like perfect timing, it'll be 4 months.
I see what you're saying.
So 4 months before Mars gets the closest, we would launch and go.
Makes
And
sense.
4 months meet up perfectly. That's essentially the mathematical navigation.
Yeah, let me look. Grok still said it was faster with ionic.
Well, that's because
You just have to have an.
That's because Grok is a baby and he didn't think in the concepts I was thinking.
Yeah, that's true.
Using timeout.
Yeah, no, he's like no. I'm saying that he's not that old. He hasn't been around that long. That's what
Right.
it's he's learning. Plus, Grok is developed to be more human than machine. The personality of Grok is to be more human.
The
So which
fastest
one is?
thing, it is still faster. I was right.
But not that much faster.
It's almost twice as fast. A little more. It says 8 to 9 months, 260 days. The fastest, the average time it takes to reach Mars.
Okay.
I did Google search, so.
Yeah, well, Grok is from Twitter and Elon Musk, and then there's Chat GPT, but Chat GPT is controlled from the elitist control system. So we have a hard time trusting it because it's from the old oligarchs or the bureaucracy, where Elon's is kind of like more of a corporate internal system, not a bureaucratic conglomerate.
I don't know what the deal with Elon is right now. I don't know what to think about him.
Well,
I'm in the same boat.
I think he is influenced one way or the other from his heart, but
For sure.
so I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's just human like the rest of us.
So then, do you think that him and Trump are like on the same page? Like, do you think they're going to be a catalyst for a positive change for people, or is it more just going to be the same old of them, lining their pockets for themselves and their buddies, if you know what I mean?
No, yeah, absolutely.
Because I can kind of see them maybe helping us out, but I think in the end, it's going to be more for them and their bottom line. But I could be wrong.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
they've told us what for them and bottom line would be. They told us, if you listen correctly,
Yeah.
read between the lines, for them is to continue the corporate conglomerate of abundance for the
America.
nation. Yeah, the nation, right? Because this is this is the lighthouse of the world, essentially, in their perspective, because of our innovation and ingenuity, with the Constitution being the only place that is even close to that is not even close. It's like another.
Well, that's why we have the Statue of Liberty. That's the symbol of our nation and the illumination that our nation brings and the potential.
Because
we have the Statue of Liberty technically because some other country built it and brought it to us.
No,
but
let's not forget
that is to symbolize it. That is what it's meant to symbolize. You're right.
Yeah.
No, but that's not what happened. Andrew. What happened was that France built it to Egypt, and Egypt said we don't want it, and then they're like, "Well, America is the country, you want it?" And they're like, "Yeah, we'll take
it." Wasn't the Statue of Liberty based off of Isis, the goddess, or am I thinking of something different?
No, you're right. That's why it was for Egypt. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. How we have the statue of ISIS, and then we're fighting ISIS. Quote unquote, fighting ISIS.
Well,
I always found that interesting.
it's because of
Yeah.
the duality yin
Yep.
yang. They didn't understand that, and so just like Hitler took the old swastika and made it evil, that's not what it was thousands of years ago. It just meant
It was a holy
Exactly.
symbol.
yeah, it was a holy
Yep.
symbol. And so like that's just the way evil works is they hijack the good and make it you hate the good.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's because
but
evil
America,
can't
like,
create its own thing. Evil has to copy from us because it doesn't have the light. It can't create, so it has to be a copycat, or else it's just because
Right.
it's not smart. It's witty, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
but
Difference between
Benjamin
smartness and wit.
Franklin and the founding fathers liked uh, the whole freaking Egyptian concept and their artwork. They put it in a lot of their symbols and stuff.
Yeah, they
Let's
were all
end
Freemasons. That's why
Freemasonry
Scottish
stuff.
Freemasons.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's not. That's not like, oh, just because they're Freeman. There is a duality part of it to it. There really
Yep.
is too,
There's
and
always a
all
good and a
this.
bad.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say the Freemasons got a bad rap. If you're talking
They do.
about the originals, they're just the Knight Templars who found out the truth, and the Catholic Church said, "Oh, they're Satanists because they found out the truth, and we want to keep it hidden secret from you."
yeah.
Yep. That's
That's
all
what
it was.
happened. And then, so, like, if you want to go off that concept, who is currently, pushing more of the depopulation and allowing horrendous behaviors to be a normal thing? It's the Catholic Church, not the Freemasons.
It's the
Yep.
Illuminati, bro. They're pushing all these bad ideas. It's the Catholics that used to have power trying to maintain power and their descendancy, and the people that are the descendant of the Freemason situation trying to maintain order in their own little countries.
You know what? There's black Freemason communities. Black people, they have their own Freemason.
Yep. I knew
Uh,
that.
do you see any black Illuminati groups?
Maybe not on the open.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of them old Illuminati assholes used to be scientists for the Nazi regime, and
Yep.
we
Yep.
hired them back over here, and then they
Operation
started.
Paperclip.
Yeah,
Well, you didn't want someone else to get those guys, right? Like,
True. Not
like,
Russia.
or China.
Yeah, but didn't they anyway? Like, didn't they get some?
they did anyway. Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously not the most valuable ones.
Oh
No, for
fuck
sure.
no!
Yeah.
We were on top right away.
We're like,
Yeah,
oh,
America's like,
we'll take the
that's
rocket
our
guy.
first round draft pick.
Von Bruin's ours. You don't get him. Nobody.
All the freaking radiation scientists and shit. We need that. Nope,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
mine.
yeah. So it was like a necessary evil, and it sucks, but
Fortunately.
yeah, I'd rather the corruption fall into a country that can overcome it than some country that can't overcome it.
Yep.
So, and that's where we're at. We're overcoming that corruption we fell and allowed into our country. It even goes
I
back.
mean,
It even goes back to Russia and the whole people that were kicked out from the two groups that were starting the Communist Party. Their leader was taken out, and then Stalin took over. So they
Yep.
are on a vengeance trip over on Russia, and they live here in America. They're American citizens, descendants of those people. And then they are mad and want they want Russia to fall. That's why we got this whole go to war with Russia crap,
Mhm.
because they're on that ancient get revenge, and they're also connecting to a lot of black communities and get revenge
I
on
mean, it's not
America.
as though Russia is a beautifully great, wonderful, high-tech civilization of great people that have never done an evil thing in their life. You know what I mean? They're right. They deserve some of that punishment, but at the same time, should we be the ones punishing them?
With Russia, no, but
I don't know.
that's what I was talking about. Is like I can't remember the names of the different groups that were going on during the time when Russia was turning into communist in the beginning, around 1918 and all that stuff. But
Yeah, I can't remember the names either.
but they are on that vengeance trip, and they got the black community to go vengeance trip on America for slavery. So it's like communism 101 starting all over again here with the, oh, America's evil, let's kill it, or like
Hmm.
the anti-American establishment essentially is what I'm saying.
Besides, another thing that America wants from Russia is the fact that they have a lot of secret information and technology, and like
Oh
I'd
yeah.
say like uh, ex- extra, not just extraterrestrial, but like extra spiritual. Like, you know what I mean? Like ethereal spirit kind of tapping into other worlds kind of shit that we don't have, right? And they obviously have that kind of technology because we were just talking about like leaked information. Everyone knows of Russia as being the place where, oh, that's where all the crazy monsters and that's where all the hardship and blah 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 blah. Have you seen the shit they talk about from Russia? This happens in Russia. That happens, right? Clearly, some of that has to be true with all the leaked information.
It's the Bolsheviks. The Bolshevik leader Vladimir
There you go.
Lenin was uh, defined the war as imperialist in nature while calling the Revolutionary Civil War for the defeat of the Russian army. And then Stalin, you know, took because he was part of them and did a flip and was like, nope, I'm taking over with his group, and he killed like 4,000 people. And then he went into doing horrendous stuff after that. This is
Bunch of herders.
1915. Yeah, that's the whole. And then there's the previous stuff from have you seen that movie about the Russian princess and how they were trying to kill her because she was the descendant? It's a kids movie from Disney. I can't remember what the heck is that movie. Anastasia. Have
Hmm.
you seen that, Anastasia?
I know I saw it as a kid, but I don't remember it.
So there's that history there too because they had their king or emperor and the people kind of like were starting it in the late 1800s, this communist overthrow of the country. But it
And
evolved, it changed and transitioned into what it became with Stalin.
I think part of the reason why China turned on Russia at the last minute with the whole um, situation in freaking fighting against Ukraine, right? Isn't just because they killed their own officers, right? And I know that happened, right? That's what they say. I
Mm.
think before that there was some drama happening from back when America did that. I forgot the name of the project, but it was when they ignored that slave encampment freaking headquarters that China had, where they were doing inhuman experiments to find out information on like little kids and shit, and we ignored it for a little while.
World
I
War
think
II, or
Russia was mad that they didn't get in trouble for that, like
are you
right
talking?
after
Is
the
Yeah.
this
war.
World War II or one?
Two.
Experiment, you said?
It was a secret facility that they had like as a warehouse that they were keeping and doing like inhuman human experiments to the general public that were
Uh,
like employed there.
I found it. It's Unit 731,
Yeah, there you go.
and it's a
There's a whole project on the Americas that ignored that in exchange for information we were getting on what happened to the experiments there. And
no.
I think
Let me read it to you, dude. This shit's crazy. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure. This might be no, it's an Japanese army in China because remember they took over most of Asia. Japan did in World War II.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was Japan, not China. Short of Manchu Detachment 731, also known as Camo Detachment, and the Ishi unit was a covert biological and chemical warfare research and development unit of the Imperial Japanese Army that engaged in lethal human experimentation and biological weapons manufacturing during the Second Sino-Japanese War, which is before World War II and part of World War II. Estimates vary as to how many were killed between 1936 and 1945. Roughly 14,000 victims were murdered. And it is estimated that at least 200,000 individuals have died due to infectious illnesses caused by the activities of 731 and its affiliated research facilities. What's crazy is World War II is part of the astrology historical context that's repeating right now, as well as like the Civil War and stuff like that. And we just had the
Yeah.
whole like Wuhan Bat Lab stuff, remember? So
Hmm.
a history pattern right there with the experiments. They're literally talking about the same thing with biological weapons, right?
Yeah. I've had that
That's
same feeling.
probably that was probably the experiments that started spawning off the whole freaking
So yeah, the exact location was Pingfang Harbin.
viral warfare.
Pingfang Harbin. I can't pronounce all that, but it's China. They were in China, but like I said, Japan took over a lot of China.
See that, and we during that time we were fighting with Russia and taking over this. We ignored that for years.
No, everybody ignored it because Japan was at war before all that, and they would started doing the chemical warfare, and that's why they allied with Nazi Germany because I assume they went to Hitler and said, "Hey, yo, we know how to do biological weapons," and then he got the mustard gas and stuff like that, and then the concentration
Hmm.
camps and stuff like that. So yeah,
That
and
that's what I'm saying. I think that Russia was still mad about them getting away with something they weren't supposed to.
well, they didn't really get away with it because we nuked them.
Yeah, but
Touche, touche.
not until way later. Like after it's been happening for years, bro. We didn't just jump in there.
Well, that's why
Right.
America it will get away and it was allowed to nuke Japan because of what they were doing.
I guess that's true.
Basically.
Yeah, like if you want to think karmically, they were imposing another nation under their imperialist rule and warlords were running around,
Yeah, that's true.
and then they started experimenting on the people. I mean, well, guess what? Boom.
Yeah. Big boom. Two of them.
Yeah,
And it's still affecting them to this day. So
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
that's crazy.
But now they're our allies and best friends. So sometimes that's how it be.
Supposedly.
Like what? Well, yeah. No, I think they really are
That's actually
because
how me and my best friend became friends. We got into a fight, and that's how we became friends. That's interesting how that works.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. In third grade, I punched Todd in the nose because he kicked the ball into the soccer field and it was a bell rang. He turned around and was like, "Boom!" And then the next year in fourth grade, we did a science project together, and I was like, "Oh, you're cool. We're friends."
Dope.
Even though I punched you in the nose and made your nose bleed last year, it's all good, homie.
Hey, he earned that. He earned it.
Yeah, it's kind of how it is. Sometimes you gotta punch somebody in the nose.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Well,
You f around and you find out. You know.
that's what we're doing now. People are gonna get punched in the nose
Yeah.
and
More or less.
say,
I don't know. I feel like some people are just asking for it. Like they're looking for something to correct their course. Like they can't help it themselves, so they have to be an asshole to push someone into pushing them into change. You know what I mean? I think that's like the mentality of some of these people.
"Well,
Right.
it's only on the brink of destruction do they change." Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, go ahead.
That's just human nature.
Yeah, but as far as like Donald Trump and all that, if you notice, Elon Musk says, "I do whatever the president tells me." So even if you think he may be a foreign asset of some kind because he's from South Africa and he's a British family member or whatever that may be, I don't know. He's shown and he's transitioned from where he was. So he could have just doubled down and stayed with the Silicon left-winging stuff, but he didn't, right? He bought
Right.
Twitter, and that was a huge risk, right? Buying Twitter like
Hmm.
that. Even though he got a lot of those people rich by doing it, the people that owned
Right.
Twitter previously, they pretty much got rich off that, right? Like
Yeah.
what
And I
Zach,
guess that's what I was alluding to earlier.
yeah, well, I don't know if you can tell he's got a little autism, I think, and he said it. So he's
Definitely.
he's
Yeah, you can
not
tell.
he's not a normal super elite kind of person, if that makes sense. He's
Same thing with Trump, though, right?
Trump. I think
Or
Trump.
or is he more so? Or is he more so the same old, same old?
Well, the thing about Trump is he just recently told everyone that he's got people. He's delegating all his power. He's like, I chose the right people. He's choosing a whole way different cabinet that are actually wanting to push the right moves that he promised to do and not
Mhm.
sabotage him or delay it or procrastinate issues. They're actually
Let's see.
potentially working
Right.
on it. And I'm not going to say that this is 100%. I believe all this, but I am just going to say what I've seen up to this point, and that supports them doing the right thing. They could always
Yeah,
change
and
on
I.
us. They could always
Mhm.
180 on us and say, "Oh, now we're gonna flip the script out of nowhere." So
Right.
there's no,
Psych.
yeah, it's like we were just playing, But but that's also like why I make videos on Rumble about these people, and and I give them a hard time about, hey, you better do what you say, or else we're gonna be suspicious of you. You know what I mean?
You know what I think? And this is not really pertaining too much to anything, but in the future, when we go back to look at what will be American history 25, 20 years, 15 years from now, as we progress through future presidents and everything happens, we'll look at this campaign with Kamala Harris and her standing on the her campaign slogan and the way she was doing things and everything, and laugh and kind of like
Absolutely.
point at her as an insane person almost. Like, dude, really?
Well,
Her and all her supporters are insane, man.
that's because they weren't real actual representatives. They were puppets of the bureaucrats.
Yep.
They're not
It's
actual
just a bread and circus for him.
Yeah, they're not actual representatives of anyone. They're just
Like, and the sad thing is one of these days, a foreign delegate is going to bring up Kamala Harris as a derogatory thing. Like, that happened in your freaking ancestry, remember?
I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know about all that. I think it was more like I don't think people are gonna be so harsh in the future is what I'm saying. I just think they'll be more forgiving. I think the culture will adapt and evolve to be a more peaceful, forgiving future because like the accelerated process of our people right now and how like it would have took 100 years to make a change in the world now only takes a decade. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
He's completely 100,000% about right about that, right? Like if you look into ancestry, it took us 1,000+ years to go from barely carving shit on walls to texting things now, and now from the time it's going to take to texting to using AI could
Mhm.
be less than 100 years. So that's 10 times as fast in an evolutionary evolvement,
Well, not only
right?
that, but
And
they're
or potentially even faster as we get older, go along.
Well, not only that,
Mhm.
but 200 years ago, there was nobody trying to understand the mind and help people understand their minds. And now we have
Right. It was still more
psychologists.
based on survival.
Yeah. We have psychologists, psychiatrists, even if they're not, very good at being collective and they're kind of divisive because, whatever they lean one way or the other, they're still helping people with understanding the mind.
Yeah.
So there's some good there, even though it might be not as good as we would like it.
And I think this is how it's always been. I don't think like when if we go back in time to say what could have been Atlantis and advanced civilizations in the past, it wasn't as though they were evolving super fast like we are now.
Mm.
It took thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years for that one civilization to be an advanced civilization.
Yeah, it
We've been
also
progressively advancing faster and faster as a general species,
Yeah, and
right?
and also our
Mhm.
our medical field, 100 years ago, they had all these tonics and snake oil salesmen or whatever they would call them, because people didn't know what would work and people didn't know who to trust. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And you had a problem, you were just like, "Give me something, geez, it hurts," or my head
Right.
hurts, or whatever it was, whatever your problem was. So there was always, trying to mix stuff together because they didn't have chemistry and stuff, education being taught and stuff like that. But now it's the history pattern is adapted to those people are now on the commercials saying these side effects. So before you didn't know what the side effects could have been. Now we do. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But it's still the same behavior of profiting off of medicine.
Yeah, and that's where big pharma has us all by the ass, so to speak. I'm on a bunch of medication that is still it's still like going through the process of like the patent, and they don't know the full results of it yet down the line. So it's so weird how the big pharma profits off of that, and how they manipulate the whole process of the patent and getting it onto the market. And
Be
it did me wrong.
careful, bro, with unpatented drugs. Just be careful. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Just be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I try
Well,
to.
the VA covered it for me, so basically
Uh,
why I did it.
I try
So
to.
yeah,
Okay.
it's probably not good news.
If the DA is recommending these drugs to you, they're probably not that bad.
Yeah,
I hope not.
well, they're not that bad into where they're going to allow you to be severely injured from it.
Yeah, you're not going to get cancer from any of this.
Well,
I hope not.
you might in the long term. They don't. These are things they don't know. These are things they can't prove one way or the other, Andrew. That you're talking about.
Yeah, and I've read those studies before on like all different types of medications, and it's just like, what won't affect one person, it'll affect the next 2 or 3 people, and they'll have major side effects. So it's just like throwing darts at a dartboard. They're just guessing.
And then they're also motivated by profit, and the profit is usually
Oh yeah.
more important than, because if you can't keep profit and you can't keep researching, so
Hmm.
it's a double-edged sword. But also, I think that's part of the benefit of all this is the sacrifices we make for the future generations, whether it's taking these drugs that aren't so good for us.
Right.
Eventually, the research will and the demand from people wanting to be healthy will provide the solutions. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
We have to keep everybody demanding better instead of accepting crap.
Status quo. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't want the status quo anymore, man. We want fucking. Sorry for my language, but we want better. We want, as high as we can reach for, because
Yeah.
that's what heaven allows us to have, and we should claim it.
Yeah, I think the best thing for us though is for people to not easily fall for things, have better discernment and
Yes.
compassion for one another, and
Oh,
forgiving those who may have implemented these medicines on us. But don't forget the bureaucracy, that corruption issue. Like, don't let that just keep sliding by and slipping through the cracks. We have to address that as much as possible.
this whole conversation reminds me of going on to the magnetic poles shifting.
Mm,
When I started feeling, I'm going to say like I felt it, right?
hmm
And it feels like it happened either this year or last year, right?
Last
Like
year I
there's
felt it.
been a shift in everyone's consciousness around me,
hmm
right?
Mhm.
Just
And
wait
it's
till.
exactly like we're talking about right now. It's people are wanting more.
Well,
Everyone around me, like either if it's more bad or more good, everyone wants more now.
yeah.
Everyone's
Yep.
striving for more now,
hmm
As they
right?
should.
Yeah.
And I think that is a side effect of the pole shifting,
Well,
right?
Hmm.
it's not just that, but
This concept of it's striving for necessity is striving out of necessity, right?
mm,
The pole
Yeah.
shifted. Everyone's the brains are in crisis. We're all like, hey, we need
mhm.
something now. Act.
I want you to
Yeah.
I want you to understand the inner workings of your body, and how like the solar system is kind of like an inner working body with the energies from frequencies or magnetic or any, there's all kinds of things that connect everything together and makes the solar system work, right? So just like in your body, if things change in your body and shift to a different position or different way, you also will feel it, and your body will feel it, and you'll be like, oh, there's something wrong with my gut, or I'm constipated, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
something is going on, and I gotta go to the doctor and say, hey, what's wrong with me, or whatever. The same thing with like the planets. Like Neptune is moving into Aries April or March 31st. Neptune represents the communication, or the atmosphere of community, or like the environment of people together as a whole. And it's no longer coming from
Interesting.
no longer coming from the Pisces illusions of grandeur with, oh, it's all good and peaceful, and while bureaucrats and evil keep doing what they're doing in the shadows. That's Piscean stuff, because there's two fish. One fish can go
Yep.
deep down into the darks, and one stays up in the shallows and goes to the rivers.
Hmm.
So the dark one isn't seen and manipulating things from the underworld, and the upper one is
That's interesting.
trying to stay in
Cause like,
the cycle of life, salmon and stuff like that. They go up the river stream and stuff like that, and lay eggs and get more fish and stuff like that. So
That's basically describing like my life right now. It's kind of interesting.
so yeah, Aries and Neptune in Aries is all about new, confronting, and taking on, and going on adventures, and rawr.
Heck yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so
And that's what I'm
everybody,
trying to do on my YouTube channel, man. I'm really trying to communicate and get out there. I've always wanted to do this, and it just felt like now was the time, and it must be in the energy and the stars. So,
yeah, because
I'm excited about the potential of the future.
yeah, so like that's gonna be community. Everybody, and this is on the body and mind, not the spiritual aspect. So the body and the mind of humanity is adapting into a more aggressive, evolving and transitioning and changing, or the Aries energy of raging war for the differences of whatever the issues may be.
Yep.
So that's going to be and that's why there's a strong connection with the potential civil war thrown up in the air all the time by the like that movie they came out with last year. What was that called? It was a propaganda movie about America potentially going into a civil war, and they have to kill the
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember seeing the previews for it a lot. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's just American Civil War. I don't remember. 2024. Yeah, it's just called Civil. So the movie. It's about time to end the show. Actually, it's a little past show, but yeah, it's called Civil War. It's a dystopian action thriller, and it's about reporters and stuff. Yeah, it's a leftist extremist version of our civil war kind of.
I think if we master free energy and we start using electricity as our primary fuel source, start going into the stars and trying to get to new places, stuff like I imagine things are going to be, I think eventually we'll terraform the moon first and then Mars. And the moon first because it control part of the reason of how it controls the Earth's orbit. Part of the reason would be how it controls the tides and stuff. If
Well,
we
there,
terraformed it, we could control that on Earth in either a good way or more like an economic control way, which would be kind of like bad.
and you just tapped into why I have a hard time
Territorial.
trusting Elon. I have a hard time trusting Elon because he keeps talking about going to Mars before the moon. I'm like, dude,
Yeah, we don't need to go to Mars. We need to go to the moon.
no, but like, why are you avoiding the moon?
Well, yeah.
Like, what's
Why
going
is that,
on?
Elon?
Yeah, what's going on in the moon, buddy? What's up in the moon? My wife has remote viewed the moon. We know what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we know what's going on. There's a station there, and there's people there.
Yep. That's obvious.
Yeah, they go up there and have parties. Yeah. All right, well, that's gonna do it for this show, guys. We're all done. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and all those amazing things you do. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Take care, y'all. Peace.
Don't forget to subscribe to what is it again? Nautical Awakenings. That's right.
Yes,
On
sir.
YouTube.
Yes. Go and check it out. I'd
That's a
appreciate that
dope
very
name,
much.
bro.
And also he's got Aries Air on Twitch, right?
Yeah, Aries on air, and air is spelled AYRE.
There you go.
And that's and I'm trying to stream a lot more. So just come check me out.
Bye, guys.